Hello and welcome back to the Movie Memo Recaps. Today we are going to recap a 2013 movie titled Prisoners. Please be advised that there are spoilers ahead. In the opening scene, we are introduced to Keller Dover and his son Ralph driving back from a hunt. Keller underscores to Ralph the importance of being ready for any unforeseen circumstances. Later in the day, Grace Dover prepares to leave home with her daughter Anna. Nancy Birch greets them as they approach their neighbors. Franklin Birch interacts with Anna and one of his daughters, Joy. As everyone prepares for Thanksgiving dinner, Anna wishes to play outside with Joy. Keller urges Anna to invite Ralph to accompany them, and they depart. Outside, Anna and Joy start fiddling with an RV, but Ralph and Eliza pull them away. After dinner, Anna and Joy ask the adults if Anna could go with Joy back to the Dover's house and search for her whistle she misplaced. The duo quickly exits after receiving clearance to go. Later on, Keller inquired about Ralph and Eliza's whereabouts. Keller goes to Ralph's residence in an attempt to find the sisters, but is unsuccessful. After Keller returns to the Birches, he informs them that Anna and Joy are missing. Ralph remembers the RV they passed earlier and brings Keller to it, only to find it gone. Keller decides to contact the police. Detective Loki is sitting alone in a cafe when he receives a call regarding the suspected RV. He discovers the RV and proceeds to check it. The RV abruptly accelerates and then crashes. Loki goes inside and discovers Alex Jones in the back of the RV. Loki brings Alex outdoors to find the girls, but he does not reply. Alex is then arrested. Loki continues the interrogation, but Alex denies all of his allegations. Later that night, Loki visits Alex's aunt, Mrs. Hawley, at her home, where he occasionally stays. Loki receives word that Alex's RV is devoid of any evidence and orders another police squad back to Aunt Hawley's residence. The next day, Loki visits Dover's house, and Grace admits that people would undoubtedly think she and her husband are insane when the girls emerge from hiding unscathed. Grace observes that Loki's commander stated that he had solved all of the cases he had been working on. As he vows to find Anna and Joy, Keller interrupts him. When Loki tells Keller that there's no evidence against Alex, Keller starts to question how this could be possible. Loki tries to comfort Keller, but he becomes increasingly upset. Loki promises Keller that the police are considering all options and that he will complete his duties. As Loki leaves, Keller asks if they would keep Alex in custody until they find the girls. Unless they file official charges, Loki assures him that they will release Alex shortly. Loki makes several trips during the day and night, culminating at Father Patrick Dunn's home. Loki observes Father Patrick unconscious within the house and then embarks on an exploration of his surroundings. Loki discovers a hidden basement and walks inside to investigate. After discovering some statues, Loki comes across a body that is chained to a chair. He awakens Father Patrick and presses him for information on the body. The search group resumes the following day, and Grace contacts Keller to inform him of Alex's release. As Alex receives his freedom, reporters swarm him. Keller appears and punches Alex while demanding information. Alex explains that the girls didn't cry until he left, at which point they drag Keller away. Captain Richard informs Keller that the police will disregard the attack but that he must return home. Keller wants Alex detained again, but Captain Richard urges him to update Loki on the new information. Later, Loki pays a visit to Alex and Hawley, inquiring as to whether he told Keller anything. Loki questions Alex's willingness to put Hawley in jail if he is not telling the truth. He phones Keller and informs him that he has moved on from Alex as a suspect. Keller then rushes to comfort Grace, who only wants Anna to return home. She demands that Keller bring Anna home, and Keller reacts by administering some medication to soothe her. Keller delivers Ralph the tablets and instructs him to look after Grace while he goes to assist the cops. He visits Hawley's house and waits outside till nightfall. He grabs a weapon and approaches Alex while he walks his dog. Keller questions the source of the Christmas jingle he was singing, threatening him with a pistol. The next day, Keller transports Franklin to his old home, where he holds Alex prisoner. Shocked, Franklin suggests they take Alex to the police. Keller claims that they must compel him into speaking or let their girls disappear forever. Keller talks to Alex and gives him one final chance to confess. We then hear a loud thud as Keller demands that Alex reveal all he knows. Meanwhile, Loki is back at the station, investigating the disappearances of older children. He then travels to follow up on the lead, speaking with Mrs. Millen, who had her child snatched 26 years ago. The initial sighting of Alex's RV happened fairly near this site. Later that evening, Keller begins to question Alex, who has suffered serious injuries. Alex refuses to speak, but Keller is confident he knows something. Keller continues his warnings, but Alex stays unresponsive. Franklin attends a vigil for the missing daughters and consoles his distraught family. Loki is nearby and notices Brad Taylor putting a teddy bear among the candles. Loki pursues Brad as he flees. Loki pursues Brad to a residence, where Brad surprises and attacks him, ultimately leading Loki to lose him on a busy road. The next day, Franklin and Nancy see Brad on the news as a new suspect, but they choose to accompany Keller to question Alex once more. Keller is certain that Alex and Brad know each other and sets out to discover the truth. Despite his obvious distress, Franklin continues to persevere. Meanwhile, Loki informs Captain Richard that Alex failed to return home after walking his dog a few nights ago. He queries why Alex was not under surveillance and demands to know where everyone involved is. Loki rewatches his interrogation of Alex to see if he can uncover any fresh information. He receives a call and goes to a shopping mall to meet with a witness in Brad's case. Meanwhile, at the abandoned house, Keller warns Franklin that time is running out. Nancy queries Franklin about his travels when he returns home, forcing him to confess to her. Soon after, Nancy confronts Keller about Alex's kidnapping. Nancy insisted on meeting Alex, and he agreed. Nancy begs Alex to help her find her daughter and unties him, but Alex strikes her and flees. Keller then shows Franklin and Nancy his new method of gathering information from Alex. Franklin asserts that Keller's lack of clarity regarding Alex's responsibility necessitates correction. Keller merely hands him the hammer and departs. However, Nancy prevents Franklin from accessing the gadget, and the two of them depart. Meanwhile, Brad sneaks in on Eliza as Franklin and Nancy return home. Brad escapes into the Keller's home, waking Grace up. Grace believes it is Anna, but Brad flees again. Ralph goes to calm her down, and she tells Loki what happened. The next day, he follows Keller across town, eventually arriving at the abandoned house. Keller notices Loki and proceeds to confront him. When Keller gets into his automobile, Loki inquires as to his destination. Keller lies, claiming he only intended to buy something from the store. Loki admits he knows Keller hasn't been assisting the police, as he informed Grace. Loki informs Keller that Alex is missing, but Keller claims Alex fled town because he is guilty. Enraged, Keller expresses concern for his daughter and orders Loki to look for her and stop following him. Keller walks home and falls asleep. He has a hallucination that Anna is alongside him. He asks who did this to her, but he awakens before he receives an answer. Keller returns to Alex and puts him through excruciating suffering in order to obtain any fresh information. Loki also approaches the house. As Loki enters, Keller hurries to hide. Loki comes across Keller on the floor and begins to look around. After Keller shows Loki around the house, Loki receives a call about Brad and leaves, leaving Keller alone. Loki discovers Brad at home and questions why he fled from him. Brad tries to flee, but Loki arrests him. Loki begins a thorough check of the home while also soliciting aid. He breaks into a room and discovers a collection of garments. He opens a package and discovers some venomous snakes dressed in bloodied clothes. He repeats the process with the remaining snakes and gets the same result. In the final crate, he discovers a book of mazes. He hurriedly takes it and exits. Later, Loki informs Keller that they have not uncovered any bodies, but the Birches identify some of Joy's clothing among the crates. Keller bursts into tears after recognizing one of Anna's socks. He blames Loki for wasting time and failing to save his daughter. News reporters visit him back at home. Keller urges Ralph not to speak with them, but Ralph responds that Eliza assured him the girls were no longer living. Keller insisted that it was not true and advised Ralph not to tell Grace. Ralph claims that Keller has abandoned the family, to which Keller answers angrily. Meanwhile, Loki has been watching Brad go over the mazes Loki discovered. Loki walks into the room and asks what Brad is drawing. When Brad refuses to answer, Loki strikes him. During the ensuing scuffle, Brad manages to obtain a weapon and promises not to tell the investigators anything. Keller returns to the abandoned house and prays for forgiveness before confessing to Alex. Keller is at a loss for what to do, yet he stays sure that Alex still has information. Alex claims he'll find the females in the maze. Keller makes several attempts to locate the maze, but without success. Keller visits Alex's aunt and apologizes. Meanwhile, Captain Richard tries to console Loki about not solving the case in time. Loki becomes immensely frustrated and breaks down. He then discovers a picture similar to Brad's maze and receives a call. When Loki visits Brad's residence, he discovers that the majority of the evidence is forgery and the mazes are only duplicates. Loki insists there is a connection and wonders how Brad obtained Anna and Joy's clothing. He returns to the driver's house, where he discovers evidence that Brad stole Anna's socks from there. Grace receives a call, and when Keller approaches the house, she rushes out, stating that Joy has been located but Anna has not. They head to the hospital to see Franklin and Nancy. Joy resists Keller's attempts to question her. Joy recalls the events that led to her discovery and confirms that Keller was present at the scene of their kidnapping. Keller takes off and speeds down the street. Loki pursues Keller to the abandoned house, where he overhears Alex's anguish. Keller comes to Holly's house and offers to help fix it as a gesture of remorse. Once inside, Keller claims he is aware of the girl's presence in Holly's residence. Holly then points a weapon at him, forcing him to remain imprisoned. She shackles him and tells him to take a sedative so he can see his daughter. When Keller receives a phone call, she asks him to dispose of it. She admits to kidnapping many children alongside her late husband. She forces him into a car and describes the kidnappings as a war to transform people into monsters, much like Keller. Holly also admits that Alex did not abuse Anna or Joy, but she chose to take them anyway. She leads him to a hole in the ground, injures him, and then forces him inside. He falls inside, badly injuring himself. She claims she'll reconnect him with his daughter in the hole and close it up. Meanwhile, the police urge Loki to notify Holly of Alex's whereabouts. Back in the hole, Keller searches for Anna's whistle. Loki arrives at Holly's home, and as he knocks, Holly moves to where she has concealed Anna. Loki enters and detects movement inside the house. He arrives just as Holly is giving Anna an injection. She desires cremation and attacks Loki. He defends himself before leaving Holly to harm Anna. Despite his serious injuries, he rushes down the highway to seek help and arrives at the emergency department. Consequently, it seems that Keller, despite being in the hole, remains unaccounted for. As Loki heals from his injuries, Grace pays a visit to Anna, Nancy, and Joy. Grace tells Loki that Keller hasn't contacted her and asks if Loki will find him. She says she misses him and that he did what was necessary to find Anna. Back at Holly's, Loki watches the excavators leave but hears Keller whistle down in the hole, causing the screen to go black.